Welcome back to Cherry Picking. Today we're rescuing a Ford HIGHBOY. Let's get into it. Good morning. It's nice, bright, early, and icy, and the trailer is loaded up, which means it's time to go rescue a new project. Let's get on the road. And here it is. Today, we're rescuing a 1972 Ford F-250 HIGHBOY, which means it's a 4x4. And this is an absolute gem of a truck. And today we're gonna rescue it, see what we can do to it, try to get the brakes fixed, maybe get it running and driving. Who knows? But the first thing we've got to do is take this guy and put him on the trailer, because we're gonna take him home so that we can work on him since he's, well, pretty much in the dirt. So let's get him on the trailer and get him back home. All right, it's on its wheels and tires. Well, now it's starting to go downhill, so I think we can push if you want to get in it. Don't forget the e-brake. Yep. Oh, there's a hill. Okay, now get in. They get better as they start rolling. Things tend to start loosening up. You got brakes? Sweet. Like actual brakes? Huh. got it all loaded up, and so now it's time to take it home and unload it and start working on it. So let's get back. Okay, and we're back, and it is a few days later. We got it off the trailer, no problem. It just rolled right off, and the brakes even kind of worked, surprisingly. But it's here, and now we're in bad weather. It may look fine on camera, but we have been battling storms all day. So it's cold, it's windy, it's rainy, it keeps raining off and on. So I'm trying to be quick about this so that you don't have to bear listening to it. But let's talk about what we got here. Now, let me preface this by saying this is a new project. It is not my truck. This is actually a client's truck, a new friend that I made who actually bought some parts for my dad, and then it turned into this whole thing, and the truck turned out to be near us, and he wanted to get someone to get it running because he's going to fly out here and drive it basically the same day, 2.5 hours, 2 hours to Palm Springs for a show, I believe the Paradise Road Show or something like that. And so he needed someone to make sure that all the brakes were done before he got out here because he didn't have a lot of time. So all the brakes and then all the other little stuff just to make sure it'll actually make it safely. So it's his truck, but we're going to work on it and see what we can do to it to make it the best possible truck that it can be in basically 4 days is what we have. So we have a lot of stuff to do this thing. We've got to clean it. We've got to see if it's going to run. We have to put new brakes all the way around. We have to make sure the 4x4 works because, you know, why not? We're installing new wheels and tires, which are exciting. And hopefully we're going to put a lift kit on it to make sure we can actually run the wheels and tires that we got for it. So just wait for those because you're going to love those. But right this second, let's talk about the truck, take a look around it, and then we'll just see if it'll pop off and turn over and start maybe, question mark. And then we'll take it, probably wash the thing out, and you'll see me in a second probably starting brakes. So what is the truck? Well, it's a 1972, a late 72. It was actually made in May. So it's a 1972 Ford F-250 4x4, also known as an F-26. It is a highboy. Now, if you don't know Fords very well, you're probably wondering what highboy means. That is a term that enthusiasts have given these F-250 specifically, F-250 4x4s, because Ford basically took the stock frame of the 67 through 77 is when highboys were made till. The stock frame size, that's a narrow frame, and in order to accommodate the divorce transfer case that is dropped down and the front leaf springs, they basically lifted the truck from the factory. So the rear axle actually has factory lift blocks in it that I believe are 4 inches. Someone else might correct me on those. 3 to 4 inches or so. I don't know. They're factory lift blocks. They're back there. We'll see them. And in the front, they added some pretty high arch leaf springs for the front axle in order to clear and have enough ground clearance for that divorce transfer case, which is where the name highboy came from, because they are much higher than a stock Ford truck. Now this one, with the tiny wheels and tires that are on it that are not exactly stock size, it's not like that much taller than my truck, I would say, but it's a good 3 to 4 inches taller, give or take. And it's really easy to get these things even higher, which is probably what I'm hoping we're going to do with that lift kit. We'll see. Now, what makes this highboy special is not only the patina that is just perfect, and I know some of you cringe at the word patina, but don't worry, I don't care. It looks good. It's got its original paint, and patina means you can use it. And I mean patina in the way that this truck has no rust, no real cancer anywhere. It is completely bone dry all over because it lived here in the desert, like I did, and didn't get all rusty. So it's just got a little bit of surface rust here and there, but most of its original paint is here, as you can see. Now, the original color of this truck is this really crazy shade of green. This green is medium lime poly. You know, 1972 called, and they definitely wanted their colors. So that's the color it is. If you don't believe me, look it up. It's medium lime poly. I think it's color code U. Anyways, that is the color, medium lime poly. It's a very 70s color. And this truck, what makes it so cool, besides just the original paint, is also the period accessories that are all over this thing that I'm going to go ahead and show you in just a second while we take a little walk around of it. But the other thing that makes this truck really cool, besides that it wears its original paint and it's a highboy and it's a cool color and it's got all these cool accessories, is that it's also an Explorer. Now, if you don't know what the Explorers are, Explorer trim package came out for the 68 model year. It was basically just a high-ish, different, colorful trim package that had a lot of different options. And there was a few different Explorer option packages. Now, it started in 68, but in 1970 is where the really known Explorer package comes into play, where they had all these crazy different colors that were Explorer only. The seats were Explorer only, like they were all Explorer only, which is what makes this so cool. Now this truck is an Explorer. I don't know what other trim package it is because we don't have a Marty report on the truck just yet, but it is an Explorer, and that makes it really cool because it's kind of an unusual combo, especially a 4x4. The Explorers were not super common. So let's stop talking and take a look at the truck. Now, as I do a general walk around, take note of all the cool period accessories, the orange fog lights in the front, the original license plates with the license plate frames that say, "Don't laugh, my other car is a Rolls Royce." It's probably hard to see, but that is what the original license plate is. We've got the standard 72 sagging grille, as they all do, but it's in pretty good shape. There's one little whammy here, got a little whiskey dent there, and the paint's fading off in a few spots, but it's really nice. I mean, these are expensive grills, so this one is pretty good. Now we come across the side here, one of the Explorer options is the bright molding. Now this was an option besides the Explorer, but this one specifically does have the bright molding because of the Explorer package, as well as the bright bumper guards. Those are also part of the Explorer package that this truck has. And as you can see, we've got the Dana 44 manual locking front end, which everything is free. It feels free and clear, but that's what makes it cool. And if we look under here, you can see those leaf springs that hold up that low pinion Dana 44. Now on the side of the truck here, we do have mirrors that neither of these are stock Ford mirrors. This one is some sort of late aftermarket 70s truck mirror. And this one actually, I've been told, is a 70s Dodge D-Series or van mirror. And it's got them both, and they actually look pretty good on here, so the guy's probably going to keep them. But that's what I've been told, so if I'm wrong, blame other people. We've got the chrome gas cap as well as the chrome drip rail molding, or the stainless drip rail, the bright, as it's called. That is also from the Explorer package. Somebody did get factory 73 tie downs, truck tie downs. These are all Ford truck tie downs that they put on. These are all from 73, and I can actually show you because I have part of the box that these are from. Another cool thing this truck has is the period correct headache rack that somebody put on back in the day with the CB whip hanging off. It's kind of hard to see with the tree there, but we do have the headache rack with the whip as well as a Lucas fog light. We've got this old Lucas fog light that is just too cool so that they could have light back here when they were working on stuff. And there again, we have the Explorer badge, one on each side. That is what makes this truck so cool. Now, somebody also put in some aftermarket accessory saddle tanks at some point. There's both of them on both sides. There are saddle tanks. You can see them down there. We do have the tailgate for this truck, and it is matching paint, but unfortunately, somebody has whammied the heck out of it. It's actually a lot worse in person than it looks on camera. The bed looks pretty good. It's not terrible, not amazing. It's been used, it's been worked on, but it's all there. We do have a crack right there, and again, that original plate with this old school step bumper that has all the towing stuff. And now I guess that's pretty much the outside. Oh, and the slider, the camper slider. This is a factory Ford camper slider. It's got the Carlite glass. And somebody had a camper because that's what this wear mark is from. So let's go inside. And as you may have saw in the intro, this truck even came with all the keys, including the keys to the saddle tank, which I'm just now realizing I haven't actually tried, so I probably should try those. But keys work. And it's got really nice door seals. Like, they're not destroyed at all. Look at those door seals. If you know bump sides, you know that these are always in bad shape. So I think someone either replaced these or just really cared for this truck because they're soft. And the doors close pretty much magnificent. And inside, we've got the avocado green door panel. That is part of this Explorer package. It is hideous, but, you know, it's the 70s. Who cares? We've got the factory steering wheel missing the entire cover, obviously. Somebody put speakers up in the headliner. There's that factory cargo slider. Now, the seat has been replaced at some point. This originally would have had an avocado green seat, but at some point, somebody replaced it. I was using this as a seat cover, and as you can see, it has some sort of brown seat in it, which looks nice, and I think is probably better than the avocado that it would have come with. Now, we've got the accessory light switch. Okay, well, that doesn't work apparently. As well as the brake controller for a trailer. Over here, We've got some gauges, as well as someone's rebuilt the differential at some point, probably. I don't know if that number still works, but there you go. Plus the CB and some more gauges, or not gauges, and some more toggle switches for probably all the lights, as well as an old school 8-track AM/FM radio. Look at that. How cool is that? That, I want it to work. I really hope that works. And then the CB radio, which is just too cool. Fire extinguisher, and 4-speed 4x4 NP435. So that is pretty much the truck. Nothing too crazy in the bed or anything, just a bunch of old tires and stuff. We obviously unloaded them, but let's take a peek under the hood and actually put our peepers on it and see what we can do, because I want to try to get this thing running before it gets dark here. So let's look under. It actually is pretty easy to lift, although it doesn't stay up, so you got to be careful with that. You know, you got a head knocker right there. But if we peer into here, we can see this beautiful 2-barrel 360 FE motor that came standard, and kind of the only real option you want with a HIGHBOY is the 360. It's the biggest motor you could get in these trucks until like way later. And power brakes, manual steering truck, which is not unusual for the HIGHBOYs. I don't think they even offer power in these bump side variations. Somebody put this cool ammo can toolbox that has tools in it apparently. I didn't actually open that. It was just kind of sitting there. I thought it was empty. Well, that's awkward. There's tools in there. Look at that. We'll probably pull those out, but that looks, it actually looks disgusting now that I'm looking at it, so maybe I'll get gloves. And then you've got fuses from all the trailer wiring. Oh, focus. Fuses from all the trailer wiring, and there's more stuff over here, and we've got the radiator, which this is a once in a, come on, there's just a layer of dust all over this stuff. As you can see, this truck has just been sitting so long. And to make it even better, we've got the factory carb ID tag, D2TF ID tag. So now that we've seen the motor, seen everything that's in it, it's dirty, it's old, this wind is killing me. It is so cold right now, my hands are freezing, but I want to get this thing running. So I actually need to go underneath and crack the drain plug, make sure there's no water inside the crankcase. If you crack the drain plug just a little bit, it'll actually let water out while keeping oil in. So we're going to crack it, see if there's any water in the crankcase first, and then if there's not, or if we get it out, I'm going to throw some gas down that carb, and we're going to see if this thing pops off. All right, and if we go under here, all right, and as we go to here, again, I do apologize for the sound quality. The wind is crazy, and I had to move my mic, but we can take a little peek at underneath here. There's the transfer case. Like I said, that sticks down way far in order to fit in between this narrow frame rail. And you can actually see way down there, those factory lift blocks. They do look like 4 inches. So, you know, I think I know what 4 inches looks like, so I'm pretty sure they are. But we've got the cab, we've got the tank switcher. That's where the original tank switcher would have been, or is. Really not any rust, major rust. I do see a tiny, tiny little pinhole right here, but all of this is completely solid. And we can see the transmission, which is just greasy. It's actually a little tight under here because the drive shaft is right there. And then the engine, which is very oily. Yeah, very oily, very caked in nastiness. So let's crack that drain plug and make sure there's no water in it. All right, gotta get under here and just crack this just a little bit. And thankfully on these HIGHBOYs, it's a lot easier to reach than on the 2-wheel drives. And like I said, we're just gonna crack it just enough so that if there's any water, ooh, that's kind of tight. That's really tight. And actually the oil pan looks pretty good. Doesn't look like there was a ton of destruction on it. It's got a little bit of a, so far so good. Got some crap in my eye, but I don't see any water. We're good. Let's throw some gas in it and get it running. Okay. Now, like I said, I just kind of want to see if this thing will pop off. So, hold down strap. Nice little bungee cord. But I want to see if this thing will just pop off. Because, well, I want to see if it'll run. I don't want to do all this work to it, you know, brakes and everything, trying to bust my butt to get it done if this thing doesn't even run or has issues. So we're just going to see I'm just gonna put some gas in the carb and hopefully light her off. Hopefully we don't have any major electrical issues. The negative cable is red and the positive is black, as standard. What more would you ask for? Okay. Sparks? No sparks. None at all. Could be not a good thing. Okay. I am going to turn it over a little bit. Let's see if I can get oil pressure. So let's go inside the truck. Okay. Let's hop up in here on my Oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna hop up on my seat cover here, you know, and well, let's see if we get any dash lights. All right, absolutely nothing. Take it out of gear. Nothing at all. Oh, well, you just gotta wiggle it. All right, it turns over. It does not sound very good. And that battery, I think, is a good battery. I'll throw a charger on it real fast and double check my connections, but it kind of sounds like the starter's not very good. All right, let's put a charger on it. All right, I've got a charger on it set to like 130 cranking amps, so let's see if that helps. Does not sound very good. All right, well, you heard that, and to be honest, it's gonna need either a starter or God, I wish that would stay up, or it's gonna need something else, because that's either low compression or the starter is just that bad. But I'm just gonna see if it'll run. So we're gonna pop that filter off. Not gonna lose that wing nut. And well, it looks pretty nice under here. I'm gonna go up and fill the bowls a little bit, and then we're just gonna give her a squirt and see if she fires. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent of starting fluid. You know, well-fed motors should be able to run on gas. Unfortunately, this may be a starting fluid situation, but we'll just fill this up a little bit, see if it'll pick up, see if it fires off, even though that starter sounds really bad. All right, that should be enough. Let's just pour some down there and see if it does anything. Let me know if it pops off. All right, contact. Oh! Well, it lit off, so. And titling. No idea if we have oil pressure. Oh, wait. Do we have oil pressure? Holy crap! I knew it would run! And we have oil pressure. Don't worry, we have oil pressure. I made sure of that. There's a little bit of noise, but it does run. I should probably shut it off. There's like no water in the radiator. Well, I'd call that a success. Oh, watch your head. I'd call that a success story. So thanks for watching. Catch me next time. I'm just kidding. Obviously, we have a running motor. Now, it doesn't sound great, but it does run. So I think that means we can progress. But for right now, the sun is going down, so I'm pretty much just going to move this guy. Hopefully, we're going to see if it moves. We'll see if it moves under its own power to a different location. And then I'm going to spray every single nut and bolt that I can see and reach on this thing with PB Blaster. Just let it, you know, work its magic in there. But it runs. I mean, what more could you ask for, really? Oh, let me put some water in this thing. It needs water because it is low. So let me put some water in it, and then we will try to move it. All right, we're going to see if this thing rolls. I put some water in it, and we're going to try to start it up, see if it moves. It definitely has oil pressure. It's got like 60 pounds according to the secondary gauge. All right. So, e-brake is off. Clutch may not work. All right, you ready?
Yep.
I've got no accelerator pump.
Don't know. Keep trying it.
All right, let's see. Oh, all right, well, we moved like 6 feet. You pushing?
You put it in gear.
I took it out.
Okay.
We'll make it the rest of the way on foot. Almost there. See if it'll back up. Got it moved. All right, well, we got it here, and now I can work on it, jack it up, start working on the brakes, start putting it together. But man, doesn't that look good? So I guess cut to, let's do brakes. All right, well, it's time for brakes. It's already pretty late in the day. It's actually about 3:30 already. I already did the other side, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you this side because if you haven't taken a Dana 60 drum brake apart, well, this might be helpful. So we're just gonna get into it, take the wheel and tire off, and try to take this guy apart and rebuild it. Other side went nice and smooth. I'm hoping this side is the same. Nothing major notable, I guess, other than it's a Dana 60. It's not exactly like other car drum brakes. Take that big guy off there. Those old 16.5 wheels are super heavy. Those are the ones off of my 67 F250 that you can watch here on the channel. It's the blue truck that we got about 5 or 6 months ago. Need to get back on that too. But these actually were in pretty good shape. It was kind of shocking. I pulled it apart and they had about 50% life left. So nothing too crazy here. But pretty much the way a Dana 60 works is it's got a full floating axle, which means that the axle is bolted directly to the hub and there is no inner bearing that is attached to the axle. It is actually inside the hub itself. So it's a lot like a front drum, really, minus an axle going through. Now, these later Dana 60s actually have bolts with washers. And there's 8 of them. You don't want to forget all of them. But the earlier ones actually have studs that are on the hubs, and you take off the nuts, and underneath the nuts are actually conical washers. They're kind of weird when you look at them, if you've ever seen them. So 67 Ford trucks have this conical washer, and then at some point, either in 70 or 69, or even in 68, I don't remember, they changed from the conical washer system to just the bolt and washers. Kind of a little fun fact if you haven't worked on a lot of Dana 60s. Another fun fact is oil spills out of them, so you got to be prepared, but I was not. Now we'll let that guy drain. That was my bad. I did that on the other side too. Just spilled it all over because I wasn't thinking. But axle just comes right out, and well, this side looks like it may have gotten a little bit warm. It's kind of dry in there. Let me show you. Now, if you look inside there, it looks fine, but really there's actually a coating of sludge. That's kind of what that is, which to me makes me think this got a little bit warm. So we'll check. This might have been a little too tight, but basically we're going to take this axle out and then undo those nuts. Now, Ford has been using the Dana 60 pretty much since the late 50s in most heavy-duty applications, such as heavy-duty half-tons as well as the 3/4 tons, and basically became relatively a standard rear axle option for most of the 60s for their 3/4 ton pickups for F250s and F350s, and you could opt for a Dana 70 as well in the F350s. Anyways, they had a pretty good relationship with Dana getting these rear ends. What's unusual about them is that the F100s could actually have a 9-inch or a Dana 60 rear end. Now, the other important thing to know about Dana 60s is because it's a full floating axle, it actually uses tapered roller bearings or conical bearings, very similar, like I said, to a front drum assembly, instead of the standard, like a 9-inch would have just a cylindrical roller bearing set instead of a tapered or conical set, which means that these things have a preload, and that preload needs to be set. You can't just stab it in there, bolt it up, and call it good. It actually has to be tightened to a certain point in order not to lock up the drums. So basically we're going to pull the axle out of here, which is nice and greasy, covered in gear oil. And another fun fact on these Dana 60s, on the 4x4s and most F250s through 1972, I believe, they use the 16 spline variant, which is interesting because 16 splines is not as strong as the 30 spline variant. So it's kind of weird that the 4x4s would use the 16 spline version. But Ford did go to the 30 spline version in 72 on standard two-wheel drives, and then in 1977, I believe, is when they changed from the 16 spline to the 30 spline Dana 60. And so, yeah, just a little fun fact. So we're going to set this guy down, not in the dirt, just on our wheel. And now we have a look at our hub assembly, which there are a few ways you can do this. Two, to be exact. You can get the right tool for the right job, which makes your life a lot easier. Or you can use a chisel, like everyone else and their mothers who doesn't have this tool, and basically chisel the nut loose. They're actually not in there super tight. They have a locking washer that gets folded down with tabs in order to keep the nut from moving. And you don't have to have the socket to do this. I do, so it's a lot easier that way. So basically, what I'm going to have to do is knock these tabs back. And these do have to get replaced every once in a while, depending on how often you're doing brakes, because they get destroyed. That should be good enough. And now I'm going to take the socket, carefully get it in there, and I should be able to break it loose by hand. The other side I did, no problem. This one might be a little bit worse. There it is. Oh, I started to move it. Luckily, I have them just sitting right there, so not a big deal. This one is a 3/4 inch socket. All right, there we go. Take this back off, and now this guy will just spin off. And they are relatively loose, so they're not hard to get off. And then, got to get your lock washer out. Like I said, this side was definitely a little bit burned up, so everything's a little sticky. Oh, there it goes. Oh yeah, I was trying to spin on the lock washer. That's not good. Well, my lock washer's stuck on there, so give me a minute and I gotta get this guy out. All right, got it off. Just took a second, you know, pick and screwdriver and walk it back and forth, but now we can take off the other nut. And like I said, it should not be tight, especially the lower one. Now once you get your two nuts off, you just kind of pop this guy to get the bearing out. Just like that. And pull it out, and that bearing, a little bit bent. That could be part of why it got hot, but it spins, actually it spins just fine. And there you go, there's that tapered roller bearing. And this one's got a little bit of a bend in it, but looks like a Timken, yep. So this is a good bearing, and it's probably pretty rare that you ever have to change these unless you've had a really abused rear end. And if you've got an abused rear end, say something. Anyways, so this is just going to go back in as it is. We're going to clean it up. Now it doesn't get greased because this is a floating axle that uses the gear oil to actually lubricate. So now we just have to loosen up the brake drum and then this guy can come off. Well, this one is fighting me. I just spent almost 10 minutes just trying to loosen the adjuster. It was way out of adjustment, but I think I am. Maybe not. Let's adjust it one more time, see if I can loosen it just a little bit more. The drums on these ones have quite a bit of ridge, so they do need to be turned eventually, or now. Let's see if that was enough. I don't know if I have much more. All right, there it is. Woo. Oh yeah. These drums are quite a bit worn. It's like almost 1/8 of an inch groove on the inside. They're flat all the way around, but that's a groove. And to make it better, parking brake on this side was not even attached at all. Completely loose, and it didn't fall off because there's spider webs all over it, like it hasn't been on there in years. So now we see our drum for our Dana 60. Now we've got an up close look at our brake, and actually we can slide this out of the way temporarily. And now we have our drum brakes. Now if you've never done drum brakes, they're not as scary as they look. They're actually super simple. Basically, you have springs that hold the shoes on, a spring that holds the shoes together on the top, a spring that holds the shoes together on the bottom, and then on modern drum brakes, or modern, you have your spring adjuster, self-adjuster, that is a cable that runs from the top, pivots on one of these shoes, and then goes down to the adjuster, which is what I was undoing to tighten up the shoe fitment in order to get them out of the drum, since that drum has such a bad ridge. But Dana 60 ones are just slightly different than other stock style, I guess. They use this funky lever spring instead of the push cup springs with a pin. It's kind of a funky setup, but it's all Dana 60s are like this. And then your parking brake adjuster, which, as you can see, when you pull the parking brake, it spreads the shoes out. Now this one was disconnected, but it just hooks in on this. To take this off, and this one actually has a broken spring from what I can see, because that should be a spring right there, and that's broken. But there's just a little bolt on the back side, or a nut, and it's one big bolt that goes through, and you just pull it out. It's got splines, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. And then it's pretty easy after that. You just loosen those guys, you push down on them and unhook them, and then you unhook the self-adjuster, and then you do your wheel cylinders. So I'm going to go ahead and blow this thing apart and swap out the wheel cylinder, and then move on to the fronts, I guess. Like always, you kind of just want to spray everything down with brake cleaner real good. And don't breathe it in. They say it's not good for you. You don't want any grease or debris in your brake system. It's not good for it. So, stopping is the most important thing you can do in a vehicle. So, you want to make sure you're doing it right. Another tip, because I've seen people do it, people like to grease brake parts, and big no-no. Grease is not what you use. Use brake fluid. It's a lubricant as well as the thing that's in your system, and it does not mix well with grease. So whenever you're putting in like these guys into your wheel cylinder, if you have to lube it, use brake fluid. That system should stay brake fluid. And just like class pictures, tall ones in the back. Yeah, they all do pretty much. Well, sometimes you screw up. Now, not a big deal, but I guess I wasn't taking it slow enough. Went to go put on the front shoe and realized that there's this little plate right here that when I put the shoe on this way, the way it goes, the plate rubs up against the back. Now on the back, the plate's on the outside. If I put this way, it's on the inside. And it wasn't fitting correctly. And then I look at it and realize, oh crap, that plate is on the opposite side. So, went and looked back at the picture I took, because remember, pictures, did the other side backwards. Great. So, the sun is going down. I get to fix my mistake tomorrow and take apart the whole other side again, you know, because I like doing it twice. And flip-flop, front shoes. Guess I should have paid more attention. You know, that's on me. That's on me. I don't know who else it would be on. It's on me. So, yeah, anyways, sometimes you mess up. So I'm going to go ahead and rip apart the other side and replace it and fix it. And, well, I'll see you in a second when I'm working on the fronts. All right, well, it's the next morning. Actually, it's almost afternoon. I spent the morning basically finishing up the brake line on the rear end. The brake hose fitting came off just fine. And then I spent quite a bit of time disassembling the passenger side front hub, redoing all the brakes, and then taking the actual hub nuts on and off 2 times because, well, I did it wrong the first time and didn't get any locking. One of the important things is these go a certain way, and we'll talk about it when we get into it. But this one, if I go to the lock position, currently nothing is moving. The drive shaft underneath is not rotating, and the other wheel hub is not rotating, which means that this side isn't working anyways. So we're going to take it apart. First thing you've got to do is take out the Allen head screws that are 5/32. And there we go. There's our front hub. These are standard Ford hubs. They're not anything special necessarily. I am actually going to lay out this nasty greasy rag. And then we have our hub assembly, and it's pretty simple. There's basically a C-clip that holds in, oh yeah, it's still in there. There's a C-clip that holds in the threaded coupling that attaches the front hub, as well as the spring plate that the hub engages with. So you basically just have to get under there. I actually did it with a pick, no problem. I didn't have to use any sort of special tool. That's what I'm going to use now. I am going to rotate it to find the open spot. There it is. And I just got under it with a pick, pulled it out. There's that C-clip, and just dropped it. And you definitely want to try to do this in the order that it goes. And then next up is going to be our spring retainer and threaded hub. And then we have a fun little circlip that just has to get spread, and then the whole assembly will pop out, and you have your 2 locking gears. This is the actual hub that locks together. Basically, the way it works is this is splined to the axle, this is splined to the hub. They spin freely when disengaged, and then when they engage, these teeth lock together, and then it spins as one unit. So pretty simple, pretty ingenious way to make a floating hub situation. Now, there is a spring in there. The big side goes in first. The small side goes towards the front because it sits in the spring retainer that's there. Now the fun part, we have a special tool. You don't necessarily, well, I take that back. You need this tool. If you're going to do any sort of 4x4 work, especially Dana 44 and Dana 60 work, you need this tool, or one of these tools. It is a 4-splined hub nut socket, and I would like to say that you could try to do this with some other tool. Now see, this side was completely loose. This side just completely fell loose. The other side, I had to use a breaker bar to get it loose. So there's some funkiness going on in this front end, but you have 2 of these specialty nuts that you got to undo, and then in between them is a special washer that is splined to, or indexed to the axle. It has a bunch of holes, and the lower, or the inner nut, has a matching hole pin where the pin sticks into the washer in between, and that's what locks it. Okay, and there you go. There is your specialty nut. The inner and outer are different, so don't mix them up. And then, like I said, after this is this washer. There you go, there's the washer. See how it's got those pinholes in it, and it's indexed, so it only goes in one way, and you can actually flip it upside down if the pin on the inner nut doesn't line up. You flip it the other way, and it's got a little bit of a quarter turn to it, and it should work. And then lastly, our inner nut. And this one should be relatively loose. It actually probably shouldn't even need a ratchet to get it off, because it should be just loose. Yeah, there it is. Just tight enough to keep this thing from spinning. So we're going to take all this out, and then the hub comes right off. And we got it off, and here it is. And like I said, there is a little, see that little indexing nut right there? You got to make sure that's facing out the correct way. I think it actually does push through if you were to tighten it, but it's better just to put it on the right way the first time. So that's basically how your hub is held on, plus the brakes, which I did already unadjust them, so hopefully this one just pops off. Oh, so close. Almost forgot. You've also got a bearing retainer that the nut rides on. The cupped portion goes towards the bearing. At least that's the way mine is, so if it's supposed to be a different way, then somebody else assembled this wrong. And then the bearing will pop out, but you'll probably need to get the hub out a little bit more before you actually get it out. There it goes. Whoop. And dropped our bearing. And this thing is just nasty, so we'll just drop it in there, pick up our bearing that fell, throw it back in here, and there we go. There's a good look at our brake system. Now this is the same as virtually every other drum brake, at least by Ford. It's kind of a standard drum brake system, so pretty much just gonna go through, pop the springs off. Now this is where having the right tools really makes a huge difference. If you plan on ever doing drum brakes more than once, invest in some tools. All you need are these two guys to do the majority of drum brakes. This guy is a spring retainer remover and installer for the spring retainer that goes on the sides of the brake shoes. This guy is a spring installer and remover for the tension springs that are up here. And basically it's got a lip on the edge. You just stick it on the pin, you rotate it around. Sometimes it's harder than others. And then you pull it off, and it just pulls off just like that. Nice and easy, doesn't blow out on you, doesn't freak out. Simple as that, it just comes right off. So invest in some tools if you're gonna do this more than once. And then, like I said, these ones are kind of a pain in the butt no matter what, but you just twist them, spin them around, and they come right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this brake reassembled, swap out the old brake hose that's all nasty and dry rotted, and then we're gonna set this hub up and put some more grease in it, clean it up, and well, move on to the fun stuff. And the fun stuff being we're installing a lift kit. So let's get to that. Well, it's the next morning, and it's pretty early actually. It's a little bit chilly out. It's cold. It's a nice 40 degrees, so hopefully it warms up a little bit. It's not too bad, but you know, it's not prime for what I want to do because I want to paint right now. But we basically yesterday got all the brakes done, and I finished up this front hub, and oh, I guess I didn't tighten this wheel, but all the brakes are done, and I got them bled, and they bled pretty good. There was a lot of air in the lines. Had to redo it a few times, if you know what I'm saying. And I still think there's a tiny bit of air still in the lines, but I actually think it's in the brake controller that's connected to the dash. It's teed into the rear brake line. So I think there's actually some air in that line, and that's what's causing some issues. The front brakes lock up perfectly. The passenger side rear locks up completely. The driver's side is, you can still kind of spin it if you try really hard. So it's not as locked up as I want it to be, and I think it's because I've got air in that controller. So we'll probably bleed that just a little bit more, but all the brakes are done. Now, yesterday I was going to start the lift kit, but all the parts weren't here yet. They actually showed up yesterday at 4:30. I had the front springs, and I had the rear U-bolts, and I had a bushing kit for some front or back, but I did not have the front bushing kit, or the front U-bolts, or the rear add-a-leafs. Good timing. Anyways, they all showed up last night at like 4:30, which right now means getting dark. So instead I tackled some other things. We painted the water pump just real fast. We cleaned our wheels that we're going to be painting this morning. And well, we just finished up for the night, called it a little bit early, and still went home in the dark. But you know, we're working as fast as we can because today is the last day that I get to work on this truck until my new friend gets here, because he actually flies in tonight, I believe, and it's coming up tomorrow from LA to help me finish up and work on this truck. And that's pretty much going to be all in part 2, where we actually work under the hood of this truck bunch and get this thing all cleaned up and make it look nice pretty much. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get these wheels painted, throw a lift kit on as fast as I can. Never done one, but we're going to try to do it fast. Not a lot of daylight, and there's a lot to do. So let's get into it. Now, like I said, I've never done a lift kit, really ever actually, so this is the first, but it seems pretty simple at least. And I think order of operations here is undoing the shock so that when we actually lower the axle, it doesn't get caught up on this, and then undo the 4 bolts for the U-bolts, or the 4 nuts on the U-bolts, and then do the same on the other side, and should be able to drop down. So let's get this shock out. Now, I've been spraying everything for days at this point with PB Blaster. So everything should theoretically, hopefully, come apart no problem. This shock is old and beat up, and we're going to be replacing them, don't worry. Oh, and even worse, that looks like it's about to break off. Wow. Let's see. 7/8 bolts. Let's see if they break free. They are. They're definitely not wanting to, though. Might actually need to use air to do this. All right, let me get the air impact. All right, now if you don't own a good air impact, I highly suggest it. Because not only does it sound cool, but it works really well, better than most cordless impacts. All right, let's see if this does it. Ooh, not yet. Sucker's on there tight. This is gonna be fun. Well, I'm gonna battle with this for the next probably 30 or 40 minutes. So I'll see you when I get the last nut off. Okay, I take it back. It actually was not that bad. The first one was the hardest one, I guess, or yeah, first one. Yeah, first one was the hardest one, but the rest actually broke free with my electric impact. Just took a second, but there it is. There's the bottom, and then these guys can come off, and there's your U-bolts. All right, that's one side done. Now just 4 more, and then we can drop the axle, and then 6 bolts for the leaf spring. So cross our fingers, the other side goes just as easy. All right, well, that other side was much harder. I definitely spoke too soon. This side came off pretty easy, and the other side, well, you know, it's a good thing there's new U-bolts in this kit, because, yeah, that one was a little tight. Which is funny, because they don't look that rusty, but I guess, you know, that's just how it goes. Anyways, all the U-bolts are out. Shocks are ready to drop, I guess. So pretty much we are lowering this axle onto the jack stand. So let's lower it. Hopefully it can go low enough for the springs to droop. And it does not look like it. I'm gonna have to get smaller jack stands. Okay, I have no idea where these came from, but these are some old school guys. I will use them at the lowest setting they go. They are only holding the axle after all. Now we can try to drop this front axle. All right, coming down. Please droop enough. Yes. Sweet. All right, there we go. Axle is down, so now I just have 3 bolts on each side for the actual spring, and then we can swap springs. So let's get these bolts off. All right, let's see what we can do. No problem. Much easier than the U-bolts. Now we just got to knock those out, and this spring should drop. And we're just going to use my little friend here, Whammy. Okay, there's one side. This side came right out. That spring is free and clear now. Now I just have to get it out. And we have a wedge that I need to remember the way it goes. And there we go. Our stock HIGHBOY spring officially out. Just throw that over there. Not sure if we need the top plate or not, but we'll keep it just in case. But, whew. Now it's time to get the other springs in there. And they're a lot bigger, so I may actually have to droop this axle even more. But let's get new springs. Now, what springs are we replacing it with? Let me grab it. This guy right here. This is a Skyjacker 2 to 4 inch lift. Should be a 2 inch, but it says 224. So I guess it depends on how saggy your stock suspension is. But it's a Skyjacker lift. It's a pretty good lift. Relatively affordable as far as lifts go, I think. I don't know, but it's going in, and it's actually a front spring set and a rear add a leaf. So basically the rear, you just separate the leaf pack and throw one in there, clamp it down, and then there you go. That's your 2 inch lift in the back. The front is a whole new spring set, which has 6 leaves instead of 5, like the stock pack, and there's a little bit more arch to it, probably because of that 6th leaf. So let's grab the other one, and I can compare the actual lift. Now here is the stock leaf pack. This would be a lot easier without a jack in the way. This is the stock leaf pack, and as you can see, if I put the bushings end to end, there's about a 2 inch difference on this side. I don't know if you can see that, but matching the bushings, it's about a 2 inch difference. So this should bolt right in. hopefully, and then we'll have a lift. And then we just put the new U-bolts, and top plate does need to go back on, and then tighten it all down. You do have to install the bushings that I just squeeze these in here. It comes with them, and it does not come with bushings, I don't think, for the frame side, but luckily our frame side is still in pretty good shape, so we're just going to leave those and just throw up this one as it is. So let's get them in there. All right. I have zero clue how much of a pain in the butt this is going to be. Something tells me it's not going to be a lot of fun to do by myself, but sure, it's been done before. Make sure to put our wedge back in. Oh, cool. Where's my friend? It seems I may need to drop the axle even more. So I'm probably just gonna have to balance it on the jack, which is a horrible idea, but I can't get the truck any higher, and this spring needs like an inch before I can actually get it centered. So we're gonna take out the jack stands, and we're gonna balance this axle. Which currently is a little unbalanced, but can't really go far because the other side's still bolted in, because I'm a smart guy. All right, this looks a lot better. Let's see if I can, trying to get the front in first. So I should be able to put a bolt in it. And it did come with new bolts, so we will utilize them. They also have washers. All right, these are not the right bolts. I don't know what these are for, especially because there's 6 of them. Maybe they're for the back. Maybe the back is bigger. I don't know. I guess I'm not using the new bolts. We're using the old ones. That's all right, they all came out. There we are, there's the first one. Not too bad. At this rate, we'll be done by tomorrow. But we'll get that tightened down, and then we'll get the other side. And then we'll put the U-bolts on, and then do the other side all over again. So, see you in a second. All right, and the front lift is officially done. It took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but I had to figure out the best way to do it, and I actually did the passenger side a little bit different than the front. I actually bolted the U-bolts onto the axle first and then raise the spring into it, which was a little bit harder and took a little bit more time. But because this thing has wedges, I couldn't center the pin correctly, so I had to basically get it in place to tighten them down before putting the springs in. So let's take a look at it. And I've got the new shocks in as well. Those just took a second. And there we go, there's the new springs. Now it is a significantly higher lift. Like I mentioned, it is 2 to 4 inches is what they claim. I think depending on how saggy your front springs are. But we're gonna go ahead and throw the tires, wheels and tires back on it, so this guy can now go back on the ground and move under its own power again after doing all the brakes and redoing everything. So we're gonna go ahead and set this guy down, get the wheels and tires on, set him down, get him off the jack stands, and then we're gonna take this guy and take him right over there and start spraying it down and cleaning out the back, especially the back, because there's a bunch of leaves and dirt in it. So we're gonna clean all that out. I'm gonna spray the interior down, get the floor mat all clean, spray out the dash, and take off this nasty seat cover that's just tearing apart, and just get this guy a little bit cleaner to work on. And then especially under the hood, we're actually gonna go ahead and completely degrease under the hood as best as we can, because as you can see, it's just full of crusty oil. So let's get it over there. Well, it's a little bit taller. It's not too bad, but we got to lower the back first. So let me get the back. Oh boy. It's definitely got a little bit of that squat. Let me show you. We may have to do the rear leaves, because I don't know if I can feel good about myself sending this truck off. What are you barking at, bro? Anyways, I was saying, I don't know if I feel good about sending this truck off looking like this, because I don't have it in my heart. Looks great and all until you step back and really get a good side view. It's a little bit squatted, you know, a little pre-runnery. But front tires will probably clear now, so that's a plus. Well, now we just got to get it running and get it moved, and it actually runs pretty good. It definitely needs to get warmed up a lot more and seal better with those. Gosh, can you stop? God, you try to record and Ravens just try to ruin your videos. Anyways, it should run fine. We just got to fill the carb up with gas, so let's start it. All right. Oh, this thing's a lot taller now. Let's see if we can get this thing moved. And we've got a new battery for it even. Probably should close that guy. Hood shuts nice and easy. There we go. All right, now that we got her over here, you can really see how much taller she is from stock. The hood is pretty much chest level at this point, and that's on the smallest side, and I'm on a little bit of an uprise, and this is the shortest tire on the truck. It's actually a really short tire. So this thing's gonna be pretty tall once we have the correct wheels and tires on it. But I'm pretty much gonna go ahead and spray down the entire truck. We gotta clean out the bed. It's got 2 bumpers and a tailgate in it right now, and whoever knows what else underneath all the leaves and the mud and everything. But I'm also going to go ahead and spray down the inside as well as the engine bay, and we're going to try to degrease it. I've just got some generic O'Reilly's degreaser, and we're just going to lay it on thick and spray it off. Now I'm not even going to bother trying to cover everything. We'll put the air cleaner back on the carb, and then I'll stay away from it. But the air cleaner that's actually on it is a pretty neat top hat style, so it covers quite a bit, honestly. And then I'll just stay away from the distributor a little bit, but really I'm just gonna spray it down because it's nasty. So well, it's now windy and kind of cold, so perfect time to be using water. We've got about 2 hours daylight, so let's see how much we can get done, because I still want to change out the fuel pump and the water pump in this thing before the day's over. So let's get to it. It's not even that bad, actually. Better than it was. All right, and the truck is washed. The bed was nasty and took me a while, and well, it's as good as it's gonna get, but for now, it works, and it's at least clean enough. The interior, actually, that was a huge difference, going from the old covered in dust, and I basically just sprayed everything, so fingers crossed, nothing's too wet to use, but I think it'll be fine. I've done this way too many times on these trucks, and it's always fine. So anyways, now we gotta get it back moved. We got to get it moved back, and then we got to start working into the engine. Probably going to replace a few things, but not going to go too crazy right now, because that is going to be basically the end of part 1. So for next week's video, you're basically going to see me and our new friend also put this thing together and have the last day push to get this thing to be a reliable driver for at least a 2-hour trip. So if you enjoyed watching this video, please let me know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe even if you want to see content like this. I thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you for watching this video. No matter what you do, the fact that you take your time out of your day to watch these videos means a lot to me. So thank you so much, and you're going to see this truck get back to running and driving and revived in next week's video. So stay tuned. See ya.